In this video, we're going to take a look at how to manually install WordPress on your website. Why would you want to manually install it? Well, generally, you only manually install WordPress when an auto install option is not available through your web hosting account. Now, the first step, oddly enough, when manually installing WordPress is that you need to log into your web hosting account. In this example, I'm going to assume that you have cPanel for your web hosting account. To access it, you would type in your domain name and then cPanel. This account is on HostGator, like you can see here. It's a HostGator account, and you just log into your cPanel account. Once you're logged in, your cPanel account should look something similar to this. And what we want to do is we want to go down and we want to look for the heading of databases right here. And what you want to do is select the guy called MySQL Database Wizard. You'll want to give your database a name. I'll call mine Sample A, and you want to write this down. You want to write down the heading part of your database name, the underscore, and then the name you give it, because we're going to need this in just a minute. Okay, it has created our database. Now we need to add a user to our database. In this example, I'm just going to use the same name again, but you'll likely want to use something different or unique that you can remember. And again, you want to write this down. The first part of the name, the underscore, and then the name you give it. And then you want to enter your password twice, and then click Create User. And then the final step we need to do is click this guy up here. We want to give all privileges to that user for our database. And again, make sure you wrote the database name and the username down. We're going to need them in a minute. And then just click Next Step. And just like that, your database is created. Now we're ready to actually download and then install the WordPress files. So for the next step at this point, what we want to do is head on over to wordpress.org, and they'll have a button at the top that says Download WordPress. Go ahead and click it. There'll be another button that you need to press, and this will download WordPress to your local computer as a zip file. And here's an example of the zip file that was downloaded. And then I will unzip this file using any type of zip utility. You can use something like WinZip. If you're on a Mac, it will do it automatically. And once you unzip it, you'll see a directory called WordPress. And we want to go into this directory, and the file we're looking for is this guy right here, wp-config-sample.php. And the first thing we want to do is we want to rename this file. What we want to do is get rid of that dash and the sample. So now it's just wp-config.php. Okay, once we've renamed it, the next step we have to do is we need to open this file. And you can open it in a text editor. For example, it would be TextEdit on a Mac or Notepad on Windows, or if you have HTML editing software, you can open the file in that software as well. I'm going to use HTML editing software called Dreamweaver to open this file. And we just need to add those database names and database usernames that we created in cPanel. So here I've opened the wp-config.php file in Dreamweaver, my HTML editor. And it's going to have a bunch of crazy looking code. And all we're going to do is we're going to scroll down here, and it's this little section right here we just need to replace with the defaults that WordPress gives us. First up is our database name, and where it says database underscore name here, we want to replace it with our own database name. So in my case, my database name was datamine underscore sample A. Okay, then we need to replace the username that we created in cPanel as well. Now I used the same username as my database name. So again, I did datamine underscore sample A. One word of note here, depending upon your web host, sometimes you don't need to have the first part in your name. You only need to have your database name. I happen to know with HostGator that I need the whole thing. So if you go to install and there's some type of error, the first thing you want to do is go back and remove the first part of both your database name and your username and that underscore. But that's only if you have problems. Then we're going to have our password, and my password that I used was simply password. And then everything else we can just go ahead and leave as is 99% of the time. The only thing you might need to change is your DB host. 99 times out of 100, it's localhost. If you run into problems, you'll need to contact your web hosting provider to ask them what your DB hosting name is. But again, we're going to go ahead and leave it at the default here. And all we need to do is save this file now and then upload everything to our web host. Now, to upload all of our WordPress files to our domain or our web hosting account, we have a couple options. The first option is if you have cPanel, you can go down to the Files section and you can use the File Manager to upload all of your files. But I'm going to show you a better alternative, and that's using something called FTP software. Now, there are dozens of different FTP software options out there. They all work the same. You're going to download the software from the internet onto your computer, then you install the software and run the software, and it allows you to connect to your web hosting account and transfer files between your computer and your web hosting account. One of the most popular free FTP software packages out there is called FileZilla, or you can use a paid version. Now, I happen to be on a Mac. I'm using a product called Yummy FTP Lite. And all I do is I enter in my FTP information, and this will be provided by your web hosting provider when you sign up with an account with them. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Connect. And it goes ahead and it connects me to my website. I'm going to go into my public HTML folder, and I've got all sorts of files out here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder where I can install WordPress. Now, if I wanted to install WordPress on the root of my domain, meaning that someone went to domain.com and boom, there's my WordPress installation, I would just install it in public HTML. But I want to put it in a folder or a subdirectory. So I first need to go ahead and create a new folder. And I'll name my folder Sample A. Then I'm going to go into my folder, and this is my web server over here, and this is my local computer over here. So what I'll do is I'll switch to the directory on my local computer where I have my WordPress files. Okay, so I switched to that directory on my local computer. I'm going to go into my WordPress folder that I downloaded. I'm going to grab all of these files, and I'm simply going to upload them. This means I'm grabbing everything, all these files that I downloaded, including the config file that I just updated. I'm going to grab all of them from my local computer. I'm going to transfer them to this new folder that I created on my domain or web host. And this will take several minutes to transfer. But once you got everything selected, you say, hey, go ahead and transfer them, and everything will start to go. And I'll pause this video while everything transfers. Now, once everything has been uploaded through our FTP software or through cPanel if you prefer, we want to go to our web browser and we want to type in the address where we just installed WordPress. So for me, it's going to be kursabi.com/sample-a. And when I do that, it will come up with the installation screen. It'll ask me my language. And then there'll be a screen where we just need to fill in a few blanks. We can do our site title. I'll name it my sample blog. We can do our username, our password. Didn't type that in correctly. You can type in your email address, which will be used for your admin email. Then you have the options of whether or not you want to allow search engines to index the site. And I'll talk more about this in upcoming videos, but generally you're going to leave this checked unless you don't want search engines to find anything. Don't worry, you can always change this within WordPress later. Then you simply click Install WordPress. If you've done everything right, you should then see the success screen where it will give you your username and your password, and WordPress has been manually installed.